it was really a kind of revelation going to Sant and playing the natural horn with this particular kind of musician. Philippe Hervé's approach to music was just so inspiring. And I wonder whether without that experience, whether I would have had the dedication to really, really go for it in the profession, to really try and do my own projects or go my own way. That brings me on to the horn I use for Franz Strauss Nocturno and the earlier still Schumann Adagio Allegro. This horn, which is a Vienna horn, these valves are known as Viennese Pumpen valves. That system still exists today in Vienna. Orchestras like Vienna Philharmonic, Wiener Symphonica mostly use Vienna horns, but this one has slightly smaller dimensions. So I'm going to play Franz Strauss Nocturno, which is for many young players a kind of war horse, and I get the impression people, especially professional horn players, have heard it too much. You know, it's got a bad rep now. But I think with the Vienna horn, it's sort of a special quality, and it's not quite the instrument. We know Franz Strauss is Richard Strauss's father, who wrote the piece. We know what kind of instrument he played. It's a single B-flat horn, which is lighter than this. But then I thought about recording on that instrument, but some of the notes don't exist. So this is at least an instrument that has all the notes on it. It's really interesting because you'd assume that he would have written it for his own instrument, but that is definitely not the case. So anyway, it has this kind of velvety tone. It's a much sort of darker, lighter yet darker version of the modern horn. So I'll play Franz Strauss Nocturno and then also Schumann Adagio Allegro, which I remember as a student thinking was a very difficult piece, and then eventually played it so much it just becomes part of what you do. And now I think of it as a very difficult piece again, because Schumann would have been writing for an early valved horn like this one, and the challenges are absolutely immense. I'll demonstrate the famous high lick and then a low bit after that. I mean, the modern horn is really so enabling on those bits, but if you manage it, you can really achieve some magic on the Vienna horn. Here we go. I mean, hats off to the guys in Vienna that play on these horns all the time. You know, it sort of, funnily enough, makes the piece new for me as well as a performer, because the kind of challenges that I faced as, say, a 17-year-old student kind of return. Tricks that I've worked out on the modern instrument just to get round the piece suddenly don't work. You know, on the modern French horn, the standard one, you have two sides. You have this side, which is known as the F side, a set of valves for F horn, which is fairly lowish, middle register. And then whenever it gets a bit higher, you've got a thumb valve, which does B-flat horn. Now, for Adagio Allegro, I spend a lot of time on the B-flat horn when I'm playing it normally, but I just don't have that safety net on this instrument. But you can go completely off the rails at that point. And so some of the excitement that I must admit I've probably lost in the piece has suddenly come back. And now when I go back to the modern horn when I play it, it's going to be with a fresh perspective. So actually, the music I'm playing on this horn is earlier than the music composed for this one. So it doesn't just mean that as the 19th century progressed, valves were the solution. This didn't become obsolete. They were still teaching at the Paris Conservatoire at the start of the 20th century. And this horn here was still being used. It's not that everyone started playing that. It's not simply a question of the technology advancing. It's technological progress, but something was always lost, so not everybody switched to the new technology. There's a sort of purity of sound without valves, and even with a more simple natural horn like this one, that was lost. And so, so it's not so clear. History isn't just one long, struggle for perfection. Otherwise, what would be the fascination of the sound of these horns, and why would I be choosing to play these pieces on horns from the time? It's not about adding challenge for the sake of it. It's about trying to find some inspiration so that you can present the piece in a new way. Well, that's what I'm hoping to do anyway.